What makes Studio 666 metal, you might be asking? Well, it could be possessed rock stars, Necronomicon, cannibalism, Pearl Jam high fives, reanimated raccoons, ranch? Or maybe it's the death by chainsaw, hammer, garden shears, cymbals, tour van, even death by barbecue. Either way, this new horror comedy from the Foo Fighters rocks. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Justin. This is Pete. Let's talk about a movie. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about the brand new movie. Let me take these sunglasses off. I can't see a goddamn thing. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about the brand new horror comedy Studio 666 from the folks at Foo Fighters. I, like many of you guys, didn't expect to be talking about a horror movie coming from Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, but it's 2022, and here it is. You know what's funny is that a movie by the Foo Fighters can be packed with more practical effects, scares, and fun than most modern horror movies today. With a fun script that's equal parts rock and roll nightmare, Evil Dead, The Devil's Candy, even The Pick of Destiny, Studio 666 manages to balance elements of horror, comedy, splatter, and gives us a movie that's shockingly effective, being that it's filled with a bunch of non-actors. The Foo Fighters are the main stars of Studio 666. The story cleverly utilizes the real-life dynamics of actual band members of the Foo Fighters, and it heightens and exaggerates them, of course, for comedic value to tell a tale as old as time. A musician trades his humanity and soul for eternal rock god status. In the movie, we have Dave Grohl and his bandmates indebted to a record label demanding the 10th album from the band, who is currently suffering from writer's block and is having trouble getting songwriting inspirato. Luckily or unluckily for them, their manager, played by Jeff Garlin, suggests the perfect place to inspire and record their new music. An abandoned Encino mansion that happens to be inhabited by a demonic force responsible for the ritualistic killing of 90s band Dream Widow, fronted by budding scream queen Jenny Ortega. Now, what could have very much felt like an inside joke that us and the audience isn't let in on, ends up actually being quite a pleasant surprise for horror fans. A great score, bloody practical effects, and cameos from the likes of Will Forte, Whitney Cummings, John Carpenter, and even Kerry King of Slayer make this a fun time for folks who may not even be familiar with the rock pedigree involved. Interesting little Easter egg here, the Foo Fighters actually toured with the band that featured John Carpenter's son Cody 15 years earlier. Apparently the guys in Foo Fighters had such a good time with Cody Carpenter that his father was happy to appear in a cameo in Studio 666, as well as composing the movie's theme. Awesome. Now, the film admittedly has a bit of a hammy and clunky start for the first few minutes, but the movie finishes strong with a bunch of amazing, creative, practical effects kills and the obvious chemistry of the Foo Fighters. You can see on screen, these guys are having a blast. The movie tackles the rock star egos and dynamics of bands. Bands like this are basically in a long-term marriage. It's rare that bands even stay together this long, let alone having the chemistry after decades and not be at each other's throat and are still having a good time enough together to come together to make a movie like this is honestly pretty incredible. Exposition is handled by a neighbor character played by Whitney Cummings, who is surprisingly good here. She usually gets on my nerves, but I actually enjoyed her character in this movie. Once the band starts figuring out what's happening, that their band leader, Dave Grohl, is being overtaken by a demon, the blood and guts start flowing, and it doesn't stop until the film's final shots. There's a bunch of horror references here, including a really nice nod to The Burning with this garden shear kill. It was a really nice touch. You get creative, practical effects, great kills, and you can tell the whole time that this band is having a blast making this film. Their chemistry is alive, and it can clearly be seen on screen that these dudes are just having fun. You also get some great scenes of the guys in a room rocking out, playing music, which is always a good time in a rock and roll horror movie. The movie is a bit draggy from time to time. There's quite a few moments here and there that could have been snipped to make the movie move a little quicker, and there is some humor spread throughout that falls a little flat, but overall the film delivers on its premise of just a good time rock and roll horror comedy. Growing up, I was a massive, almost obsessive Nirvana fan, so to see Dave Grohl still doing it, still hanging in there, decades into Foo Fighters now, this was just a blast. Specifically fans like myself who grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, who grew up with bands like the Foo Fighters and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, all of those 90s grunge bands, you guys will particularly have a good time with this. I know I did. I really respect that these guys are still kicking, still having a good time, time and trying to do new creative things as a band, and this movie succeeded. This movie very easily could have fallen on its face, and I know there's a lot of folks that may think this movie fell on its face, but I respect everything that went into this movie. A story by Dave Grohl. You have a theme song written by John Carpenter himself, as well as a cameo from guys like him and Kerry King of Slayer. This movie came together for me, and I had a great time with it. To those of you who have seen Studio 666, let me know what you thought of it. Also, what are your favorite rock and roll horror movies? I know there's a lot out there. Rock and Roll Nightmare, Black Roses, Trick or Treat. There's a bunch of rock and roll horror movies out there. So let me know in the comments down below what your favorite horror comedy is. Rock and roll horror comedy. But guys, I think that's it for me. Be sure to subscribe to both my channels, Movie Watch Daily, The Dead Couch. On The Dead Couch, I do collecting, physical media, all that nerdy type stuff. But guys, I think we're done here. Stay weird. Remember to always be yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. We're done, Pete.